studies reveals that those societies that have taken their time in building networks for their youths and platforms that enable the youth to access education and proper guidance on matters economics, social and politics, those societies have ended up being very stable societies. And that is why this time round we have dedicated to have a panel of youths who are going to speak matters youths and probably suggest solutions to the problems bedeviling the youths. Join us on the Power Brief show from the beginning to the end as we unmask and bring out solutions to the problems that are bedeviling the youths. And today on the show we are joined by Linda Kenyan. Linda Kenyan is a Communication and Public Relations Officer with the United Nations Committee on Trade and Industry, UNCTAD, at the Youth Department. Welcome on the show.
Thank you so much.
We are also privileged to have Mr. Gadi Sonai. Mr. Gadi Sonai is a youth leader with Youth for Reforms Alliance Kenya. Welcome on the show.
Thank you so much.
And today it is Matters Youths and Youths, Governance and Politics. Na kuna msemo ambao husema kila mara tulikuwa tukisikia tukiwa katika shule za chekechea, shule za msingi, shule za sekondari ya kwamba vijana ni viongozi wa kesho. And my panelists will tell us, has tomorrow finally come? Linda, has tomorrow finally come?
I believe it is yet to come because it is very, very unfortunate that the youth really have to go through a lot just to be leaders. First and foremost, most of the youth don't even have the finances to get into leadership unless you come from the right family. And unfortunately, we don't really get to choose which family we come from. So I feel that for youth to get to leadership, it really takes a lot of sweat, blood and tears. Yeah, so I think that promise is yet to be reached.
Gadi, has tomorrow finally come?
Thank you, Mr. Muse, for this invite. And according to me, this tomorrow is a scam. It's a fraud. It's one way of the government and the politicians trying to divert us from addressing the issues that are currently facing us by promising us tomorrow, which is not there.
But Mr. Gadi, just to cut you short, you remember a few days ago, the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in his appointments, he appointed close to 7 youths. We have Nadia Ahmed in the Ministry of ICT Youths. We have Mr. Zachary Kinuthia, who is in the ministry, the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Education. So to them, are they not youths or are they youths, Linda?
They are youth definitely, but you also have to consider that they are youth with privilege.
What are those privileges?
There's a very big difference between them and the ordinary youth who are out here.
So they are not ordinary youths?
They are ordinary youth, but they have their means to how they got there. Probably through influence, probably through some form of help and some form of privilege, because it's very, very difficult for you to find a regular person, yani mse wa mtaa, amepatiwa such a position. Yes.
Maybe youths don't apply. Gadi, did you yourself apply? Have you positioned yourself so that the president can see you?
The question you need to ask us, are those positions advertised? Did they advertise that there is a CS position, so youths are supposed to apply? No, it's not advertised. That's a position that the president himself and his handlers just pick people they know. You see, so the people that the youth that were appointed, they are youth definitely. But what's the population of the youth? Youth are almost 60% or 70% of the Kenyan population. So giving us 7%, that's a drop in the ocean. You see, we need to see most youth, because out of 70%, 7 people, that's about 0.001%.
But Gadi, they say better have a loaf than no bread. Linda, hasn't the president done something that is actually worthy to be celebrated?
But this half a loaf is for privileged young people.
Yes.
It is not for ordinary young people. These people who have been appointed have very strong political ties. They have stronger political ties than ordinary people out there here, and that's why they were actually handpicked. Yes.
You remember They are like ambassadors, Gadi. They have gotten the opportunity to be there. Can't now the youths use them, or they have just gone there and then they're inaccessible to fellow youths?
I want to use a more practical example. We have some youth, let's say, I'm sorry to say this, like our Honorable Babu Owino is a youth, whom when we elected, we knew we were electing a youth who is going to represent the youth. But what is he doing? He's there to protect and to prevent and to fight for the government of the whole. You see, he's no longer talking about the issues that are affecting the youth, the unemployment, lack of school fees among the students. He's not talking about those ones. They are talking about how the BBI is going to give position to this and this. You see, the BBI is going to give position to the old, not to the youth.
Gadi, just stop there. Linda and Gadi, both of you, have you gone through the BBI report? Have you had a look at it?
Yes, I've managed to go through, though not the whole of it, but what I've gone through what concerns me. And from the BBI report, I don't think the BBI report is the solution to the problem that is facing the youth as at now. What we need to do is to implement the constitution. First, let's implement this 2010 constitution that is in place. Because if we are not implementing this one, we cannot say we are going to implement the BBI. Yes.
Now, looking at that, when everyone talks of youth being sidelined, when you go to a country like Finland, we find out that they have one of the youngest prime minister, that is at 34 years of age. The Social Democratic Party gave that position. The political parties bill in Kenya came to a point, and it gives that go-ahead that all political parties have to receive funding from the state. Have we seen any group of youth, Linda, coming up and forming up their own political party?
Actually, very few. Most of the youth prefer to actually go under a party that is already established. Yes.
Have we seen any youth forming a political party? Because the procedures are very clear, and once you have your own party, there is that funding from the state.
First, we have to agree that youth have challenges. For you to establish that political party, you must have finances, which you do not have. For the state to fund you, it will fund an already established political party. And to establish that political party, it needs resources. The youth do not have resources. And why does the youth lack resources? They lack resources because the government has not given them opportunities. We are not saying the government should give us ambassadorial position, the ministerial position, but let the government give us jobs. First, we have to get jobs. We have to start somewhere. If we have job, I have my income, then I will have my resources, and we'll be able to do things as youth. Yes.
Linda, so far so good. What is the approximate population of the youths in this country?
The youth are actually the majority when you look at it, and most of them are unfortunately very disadvantaged and jobless.
The approximate population percentage, can we have 2 million youths in this country?
I think we are more than 2 million.
We are more than 2 million. And the cost of registering a political party in Kenya, and even getting offices and what have you, registration fee, Mr. Gadi Sonai, is only 500,000 Kenya shillings. But if even the youths can decide to spare one bob, 1 shilling each, and then 5 million youths, that's enough to open a political party, to open offices across the 27 counties, and the wheel will be rolling, and even the numbers. So don't you think the blame is also on us, the youth?
I like how you're bringing it, but you're saying if youth can spend 1 bob, these youth do not have that 1 bob.
1 shilling.
Yes,
Gadi, 1 shilling. Linda, can't you sacrifice 1 shilling? Not 10, not 2, not 3.
You also have to remember that you can have all the money to start this political party, but if you do not have the political ties and the political influence that you need to maneuver, then it's basically zero work.
Chapter 1 of the Constitution talks of the sovereignty of the people and the supremacy of the Constitution, that the sovereign powers lies with the people. Which means, Linda, that if you have the numbers as youths, then you have the powers, the acumen, the political weight that you have. Aren't we playing so-called, aren't youth playing so-called on themselves
But you have to remember, if the youth are not financially empowered, then they can be bought. They can be given 1,000 and told, go and throw stones, and they'll go and do it because they're not financially empowered.
Let's go back to history now. Gadi Sonai, how old was Tom Mboya when he actually ventured into politics during the pre and post-independence?
Okay, it was below 30 years.
He was below 30 years. And as what Linda said, don't you think the colonialists had the ability to buy the likes of Tom Mboya at that younger age?
But you have to remember that Tom Mboya was just not an ordinary young person. He had very strong political ties before he even ventured into politics. And even youth today need to have those political ties and political influence and some form of political support from someone so that they can be able to maneuver through politics.
Gadi, do you agree that in the current state that we are in, we don't have youth who've got that political strength like that one of Tom Mboya and the rest of the...
We have a lot of youth who have the political goodwill to venture into politics and to change the face of Kenya and the face of the politics in Kenya. We have them. But what does the government do? The government has ensured that these youth do not get what they want. You see, first, these youth, wamefinyiliwa to an extent that they are poor. You see, so that ikifika election, they can be bought cheaply. So you cannot say, even if you have the political goodwill and you do not have resources, you will venture into politics. Who will listen to you?
Coming back to Linda, how much resources do you need to wake up in the morning and walk to the polling station? Because getting power begins from there. How much resources do you need before we get to Gadi?
Actually, you can just walk into a polling station and vote. Yes, but remember, voting and actually getting into politics is two very different things. Yeah.
Can't you, Gadi, like youths of a particular region, sit down and agree that we've observed so and so, and this time round we are putting this person here under these arrangements because we believe this and that will happen? Can't that work? Without mentioning names, have those youths performed to what you agreed on before?
Kenya operates on democracy. Kenya does not operate like in a communist society. If we elect two youth and they go to parliament, they meet 456 parliamentarians, do you think their voices will be heard? Because for the parliament to pass a bill, there's voting. So 2 people will vote against 200 people. Will they pass? Yeah.
So Linda, what is the problem? When the youth are elected, are they incapacitated by circumstances, or do they now start dancing the tune of the system?
Let me just start by saying that, you know, most youth who are elected and get into power have actually cultivated social capital and also political capital. So social capital is people who have run a campaign online or offline to actually gain the support of the people on the ground. You know, they have had medical drives, they have helped the poor, they have visited children's homes. They have really done a lot in the community to actually gain social capital. And also most of them have also political capital. They have made friends with very, very powerful people that has enabled them to be in that position of actually being considered. To get it on the ground, they'll actually be nominated or something. So that's one of the differences between a person who is, because sometimes when you go to the ballot, unaona mtu wa kawaida hata hujaimuona, you've never seen anything he's done, but ako kwa ballot. Na kuna mwingine ashafanya homework yake, cultivate political capital and social capital. So there's also a difference in how the youth should play politics. You know, you should just not wake up one day na unaonekana tu kwa ballot and you've never really done anything on the ground, or you've not had any political capital. You know, you've never cultivated any political capital. Yes. And then regarding the fact that once they get into office, they change. Definitely, most people feel that they change because there's some form of distance that comes in between the people and people in power. Yeah, so most people really feel sometimes cheated because you vote for this person who you believe will get into power and help you guys, but then they end up not doing what they promised. Yeah.
In respective counties, Mr. Gadi, you see, before elections are those pacts, political pacts that if you give me to be the governor, this is what I will do. Have you seen any caucus of youths anywhere in any of the counties having a pact with any of the governors, pre and post?
That one I normally call empty political promises. Because if you tell me, if you elect me, I'm going to do this and this and this, you are telling that to 1 million people. How many slots are you going to create for those people? How many opportunities are you going to create?
We're talking here on the constituency of youths. Have youths organized themselves before they're claiming of being organized?
On that issue, I can slightly blame the youth, because youth sometimes we are being led by self-interest. We form a group, we get ways of fund, then 2 or 3 people run with the money. They leave a huge chunk of youth without anything. So on that on that issue, I want to urge the youth to at least know what they want, know the long-term plans of their life, not just the 500,000 you have been given, then you run with it. Yes.
So meaning that there are things that we as a youth have to admit that things are not going in the right way. Do we have the messes the youths are creating on themselves? Are they enemies of themselves?
Somehow, you know, today it's a man-eat-man society. So when people get together and go and get funding for a business, there's that scenario whereby people take money and run with it. But you also have to consider the hard economic times. I'm not saying that it's good to actually steal, but I'm saying they're stealing because they don't have, they are economically disempowered. Yeah.
You can also engage us live on our social media platforms. That is Facebook, KAK TV Kenya. Our Twitter handle is KAK_TV_Kenya. Also on Instagram, KAK TV Kenya, and you can also stream live on our YouTube channel. Remember, on Power Brief, we look into problems ailing the society on matters politics and governance. And not only do we look at those problems, but we find out the solutions to those problems. And that is why in our panel, we always have experts who are well versed with the different topics in the society. Because for us, giving you the solution is our main task and our main duty. Keep it at KAK TV.